Imagine a world where emotions are illegal, a future where feelings are the cause of war, and peace is enforced by suppressing every human emotion. This is Libria, a city controlled by the Tetragrammaton Council, where citizens are forced to take daily injections of a drug that eliminates emotions, and where art, music, and anything that stirs the soul is banned. But what happens when one man, a skilled enforcer of this oppressive regime, accidentally misses his dose? Follow John Preston, a top-ranked cleric, as his world unravels. He starts to feel, discovering beauty, grief, and rebellion, threatening everything he's been trained to protect. When emotions are forbidden, how dangerous does one man's awakening become? Prepare for a high-stakes battle where the price of freedom could mean the end of everything. A third world war erupts at the start of the 21st century, devastating the entire planet. The remaining survivors discovered Libria, a city where a totalitarian government, known as the Tetragrammaton Council, forces all citizens to take daily injections of Prosium 2, which suppresses emotion and promotes obedience. Anything that may elicit emotions, such as art and pets, has been prohibited, and criminals who consume such items are referred to as sense offenders. If they are caught, they are executed because the council believes they are the root cause of all wars. To ensure that everyone followed the rules, the council formed a group of well-trained warriors known as clerics, who fight with the martial art of gun kata. Outside the city, there is an abandoned area known as the Nether, where the majority of the illegal activity occurs. Currently, clerics John and Errol, along with their special team, are conducting a raid to deal with the most recent group of rebels from the underground. The team discovers that a group of rebels have barricaded themselves inside a building. So while they engage in a gunfight outside, John goes inside first, holding guns in both hands. He breaks down the door and simply waits in the darkness, allowing the rebels to fire while remaining unharmed. Once the fire is out, John uses his gun to shoot all of the rebels, using the gun kata technique, which uses geometry and psychology to choose where to strike with precision while keeping him out of the line of fire. After everyone has died, they search the building for illegal materials, and when they break the floorboards, they discover a vast collection of art, including the Mona Lisa. After they use a scanner to confirm their identity, John orders his men to set everything on fire. During their ride back to headquarters, John notices Errol has taken a book and asks why. Errol explains that the team has a tendency to leave something behind, so he'll log the evidence himself to avoid problems with the records. Meanwhile, throughout the city, the leader Father appears on screens, reminding people to take Prosium and that they have achieved peace thanks to the system, which elicits cheers from the crowd. Father is always on the screen, but nobody has seen him in person in a long time. When John arrives at headquarters, he immediately goes to see Vice Consul Dupont and delivers his report, which earns him high praise. Dupont wonders how a cleric can sense when someone is experiencing strong emotions, and John explains that he has learned to think like his enemies. When Dupont asks about his family, John tells him coldly that his wife was arrested and incinerated several years ago for being a sense offender. Dupont chastises him for it, claiming that a cleric should be able to tell his own wife she is a criminal. Later, John examines a video of the car and notices Errol acting suspiciously. He goes to look at the records and discovers that Errol hasn't logged any evidence in weeks, including today's book. He decides to return to the Nether to look for him, and he discovers him reading the book inside an abandoned church. When John confronts him, Errol laments that people have lost everything that makes them human, and when John points out that there is no longer any war or murder, Errol admits that he would gladly pay the price to restore humans' emotional capabilities. Then Errol reaches for his gun, but John is quicker and kills him first. Before departing, he covers Errol's face with the book. Afterward, John meets Brant, who will replace Errol as his partner, and expresses his desire to be as good as John. When John returns home, his son Robbie informs him that he saw a boy crying earlier and wonders whether he should notify the authorities, to which John responds that he should. Although they are father and son, Robbie addresses John by name rather than Dad. Later in the evening, while sleeping, John has a dream about the day his wife was arrested. When the officers stormed into his home, John quickly disarmed two of them, but he stopped fighting as soon as they informed him that his wife was a convicted offender. His wife kissed him on her way out. Sorry for the small pause. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or any questions you have. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you never miss out on any future updates. Now let's get back to it, and asked him not to forget her in front of their 2 children. The next morning, while getting ready, John accidentally drops his prosium vial on the floor, causing it to break. When Robbie notices this, he reminds his father to visit the Equilibrium Center and get a replacement. However, when John arrives at the center, he discovers that it is temporarily closed due to terrorist activity and that people must travel to another sector to obtain their supplies. When Brant arrives to pick him up for a mission, John decides to accompany him without disclosing his lack of prosium for the day. Then John and Brant go see a woman named Mary and raid her home. John pushes Mary against the mirror, but he stops when he remembers his wife. Fortunately, he recovers quickly, and after Brant destroys the mirror because of its artistic frame, the officers knock down a wall to discover a room filled with illegal objects. A desperate Mary steals a gun from an officer and points it at John, prompting Brant to attempt to shoot her. However, John stops him, stating that they can use her to obtain information about the underground. Mary is then taken to headquarters for interrogation. Mary ignores John's questions about the other rebels and instead asks him about his purpose in life. John claims that his purpose is to keep their society running smoothly, but Mary points out that this is circular logic. His purpose is only to survive. Before leaving, John observes the recruits training to ease his mind. That night, John refuses to take his injection and instead watches his body burn. However, he awakens to realize it was a nightmare. Feeling strange, he rushes to the window and peels away the tint, allowing him to see the sunrise for the first time. Such a beautiful sight causes him to experience a variety of emotions, including awe, and when he realizes this, he rushes to the bathroom to retrieve the syringe gun. However, he cannot bring himself to receive the injection again. Then John leaves for work, but before entering headquarters, he drops several prosium vials to destroy them. He also removes his glove and brushes his hand against another person's to see how it feels. In the office, he notices that all desks are the same and begins rearranging his belongings. Brant notices this and asks what's going on, but John explains that he's simply optimizing his space. Their next mission is to go after some criminals in the Nether. As they raid the area, the officers become embroiled in a vicious gunfight with the rebels. A man tries to attack John, so Brant shoots him. When John catches the guy, he accidentally looks into his eyes and sees life leave his body. Upset by what he's seeing now, he drops the body, only to become even more upset when he notices blood on his hands. While the officers kill all of the rebels, John discovers a secret room containing illegal items and decides to investigate further. He finds a vinyl record of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony and listens to it while looking at a snow globe. But the music moves him so much that he drops the globe and begins to cry. After the team destroys everything, Brant notices John is keeping a book. Remembering Errol, John simply says he will log it himself. Suddenly, an officer announces that they have discovered some animals, which turn out to be puppies. None of them understand why someone would keep animals in the house, and they wonder if the rebels ate them. Brant orders the officers to kill all of the dogs, and John attempts to object, but he can't think of a good reason, so he must second the order. As the team shoots every dog without mercy, one of the puppies escapes and runs to John, who picks it up and is surprised to see his face licked. An officer tries to take it back to finish the job, but John takes it away, claiming it should be tested for diseases. Sometime later, John meets with Dupont and opposes the murder of rebels, arguing that they should be arrested and interrogated instead, as the law requires. However, Dupont informs him that Father has issued a mandate instructing officers to exterminate all rebels on sight. After that, John watches Mary for a while, before asking for the box containing her belongings. Among other things, he finds a ribbon, and after smelling it, decides to keep it secretly. In the evening, he heads to the Nether, unaware that Brant is following him. When John arrives, he attempts to release the dog, but it continues to follow him, so he returns it to the trunk. John even hands over his jacket and smiles at the little guy. Officers arrive at the scene and surround him, asking for an ID that John had left in his coat. They take the car keys from him and are about to open the trunk when an officer recognizes John and apologizes for the trouble. Unfortunately, the puppy takes advantage of the opportunity to yelp, prompting the officers to open the trunk and force John to kneel down. However, John attacks the officers with their own weapons, killing them. There are more men waiting in the vehicles, so John attacks them too, using the same method to steal their weapons and kill them all in seconds. He then leaves with the puppy. The next morning, John meets with Dupont, who claims to notice something unusual about him, and as John attempts to leave, Dupont accuses him of having feelings and tells him to check himself. Later, John learns that the underground has been demolished, and as expected, they intend to murder everyone. However, when John returns to headquarters, he is arrested and charged with a serious offense. However, when John is brought to DuPont, he is told that it was a test to see if he would break, and Brandt is punished for accusing him. DuPont then reveals that he is aware of John's emotions, and that this has always been his plan, even with Mary's death. DuPont's plan is to gain the trust of the underground so that he can gather them all in one location and arrest them more easily. The news is devastating for John, but DuPont forces him to accept it by threatening to kill his son and daughter. DuPont's men take John to the underground and explain the plan. The rebels refuse to commit suicide and reveal that their ultimate goal is to kill Father. John accepts the assignment and is taken to see Father at his residence. On the way there, the guards scan John to see if he has any weapons and are perplexed when the scan reveals that he is loaded with them. As soon as John realizes this, he breaks his handcuffs and begins attacking the guards. After killing everyone, he enters Father's office only to discover that Father is actually DuPont and the man on the screen is merely a digital image. John does not hesitate and uses gun kata to kill DuPont and his team before walking outside to see that the rebels have already begun to destroy the Prosium storage centers. Citizens resume expressing their emotions now that they no longer have access to drugs. All right, that's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. It really helps the channel. Leave a comment with your thoughts and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching and see you next time.